Everything they promised you was a well-told lie. They told you that modernity was the pinnacle of human evolution. That technology, global connectivity, and progress would lead you hand in hand to a full, comfortable, and happy life.
But here you are, with an empty soul, silently wondering why, despite having it all, you feel like you have nothing. It's no accident. You are experiencing the greatest paradox of our era. They sold you progress as the ultimate medicine against dissatisfaction. But what they never told you is that this same progress is a machine for producing anxiety, alienation, and exhaustion. We live surrounded by advancements that promise to make life easier, but the more we advance, the farther we are from ourselves. Have you felt it? That uncomfortable feeling at the end of the day, when you turn off the screen, and for a moment, you face the silence. A silence that reminds you that deep down, you have become another gear in a machine that never stops. A machine that doesn't ask if you're happy, only making sure you keep functioning. Because here's the brutal truth. The current society was not designed for your well-being, but for your productivity. They trained you to run a race with no finish line, where constant consumption is the fuel, and dissatisfaction is the compass that keeps you moving. If you were satisfied, if you were at peace, you would stop consuming, you would stop running. And that, for the system, is a problem. They taught you that your value is in what you produce, in what you buy, in what you appear to be. That human relationships are built based on likes, that happiness is a notification vibrating in your pocket. But each new purchase, each new achievement, leaves you with a bitter taste, with the silent suspicion that none of this truly fills the void inside you. Stop for a moment and ask yourself, when was the last time you felt a genuine connection with someone? Not a quick interaction on social media, not a superficial exchange of cliches. I'm talking about a real, deep connection, one that makes you forget the clock. It's hard to remember, right? It's no accident. They've pushed you into such a fast-paced existence that the space for introspection and authentic connection has been reduced to ashes. We live in an unsustainable paradox. We've never been so connected, and yet, we've never been so alone. We exchange messages at the speed of light, but our souls drift, increasingly distant from each other. They promised us community, but they gave us loneliness disguised as hyperconnectivity. Modernity has also sold us a misleading narrative about work. Do what you love, and you'll never work a day in your life, they say. But the reality is that even those who love their work feel trapped in a wheel that spins endlessly. You work to pay for things you don't need, to impress people you don't know, to maintain a rhythm that slowly destroys you. It's a vicious cycle. You work more to earn more, to spend more, to feel less empty. But the more you consume, the deeper the inner hole becomes. Because consumption, no matter how they sell it as an escape route, was never designed to fill the soul. It's a temporary patch over a wound that needs a different medicine. And here is where the part they don't want you to discover begins. True happiness, true fulfillment, isn't in what you accumulate, but in who you are when you let go of it all. When you turn off the screens, when you silence the noise of the outside world, and dare to listen to the faint murmur of your own interior. It's not easy. It's scary. Introspection is terrifying because it forces you to confront questions you've avoided for years. It forces you to face your emptiness, your fears, your insecurities. But it's precisely in that brutal silence where you begin to find answers. Answers that no algorithm will give you, that no ad will sell you. The system doesn't want you to reach this point. It prefers you to keep running, to keep your mind busy with small doses of digital dopamine. It prefers you to keep believing that the next goal, the next purchase, the next external validation will finally bring you the peace you long for. But I'll tell you clearly, peace is not found at the end of the race, because the race is an illusion. True peace comes when you decide to leave the track and begin walking the unexplored path of your own authenticity. Here is the real rebellion. Disconnect from the noise, disconnect from imposed expectations, disconnect from the farce of progress that has been imposed on you. The real revolution isn't in the streets, it's in your mind. It's in daring to say no. No to excessive consumption. No to productivity as the ultimate goal. No to the superficiality of empty relationships. The modern world has turned life into an endless pursuit of ghosts. Status, prestige, accumulation of goods. But those ghosts vanish when you stop chasing them. And when you do, you discover that life, real life, is made of simple but profound moments. A sincere conversation, a knowing look, a conscious pause to breathe and feel that you exist. The paradox of modernity is that the more you strive to achieve the promised happiness, the more you move away from it. It's like running towards the horizon. It seems to be within your reach, but every step you take makes it move farther away. The solution isn't to run faster, it's to stop. It's realizing that the race was a trap from the very beginning. You must understand this. True fulfillment is not measured in external achievements, but in internal peace. And that peace is not bought, not downloaded, not gained through likes. It's cultivated, it's built from within, through brutal honesty with yourself. Ask yourself this uncomfortable question. If all the noise disappeared, if no one were watching, if you didn't have to prove anything to anyone, what would remain of you? The answer to that question is your true self. And until you face that reality, you will continue to be a slave to a system that feeds on your insecurities. It's time to wake up, to question the story they sold you, to understand that true freedom isn't in having more, but in needing less. That true wealth isn't in accumulating, but in letting go. Because when you let go, you finally free yourself. You free yourself from the invisible burden of other people's expectations. You free yourself from the anxiety about the future. You free yourself from the constant comparison with lives that only exist in digital showcases. You free yourself to truly start living. And it is then, only then, when you begin to experience the fulfillment you have long sought outside of yourself. A silent, humble fulfillment, but infinitely more satisfying than any external applause. The path is there, waiting for you to have the courage to take it. It's not the easiest path, nor the most traveled. It's a solitary path at first, because few dare to walk it. But in the end, you'll discover that it's the only one that truly matters. So decide it. Today. Now get out of the noise. Get out of the race. Start listening to what your soul has been trying to tell you. Because modernity promised you happiness, but only you can grant it to yourself. And it's not in the next notification, nor in the next purchase, nor in the next achievement. It's been, and always was, inside you. But there's something deeper, something barely mentioned, something that quietly pulses beneath all this modern farce. I'm talking about the illusion of control. They made you believe that you control everything, that with enough information, with enough data, you can anticipate every step of your life, that you can plan, predict, manage every variable. The algorithm tells you what to watch, what to eat, what to desire. Everything is perfectly orchestrated to make you feel like you're holding the reins. But the truth is uncomfortable. The control they sold you is a mirage carefully designed to keep you still while the current drags you. Haven't you noticed? The more you try to control everything, the more anxiety takes over. Because deep down, you know it. No matter how much you plan, life slips through your hands. You've delegated your internal compass to external systems. You've let notifications decide your priorities, metrics measure your worth, trends dictate your path. You've become a spectator of your own life, waiting for a control panel to guarantee your happiness. The irony is brutal. We've never had so much access to information, and yet we've never felt so lost. The excess of options, far from liberating you, paralyzes you. You suffer from the weight of analysis paralysis. So many routes that you don't know which one to take. So many paths that you're afraid of choosing the wrong one. They've filled you with maps but stolen your compass. And without a compass, every step feels like an unbearable risk. And here, I want you to stop. Look inside yourself. Because this labyrinth of endless possibilities wasn't created for you to find the way out. It was created for you to get lost. Modernity doesn't want you to reach any destination. It wants you to keep walking without stopping, wasting your strength until you forget why you started walking. Even worse, they've instilled the idea that stopping is failing, that resting means giving up, that questioning the path is dangerous. Do you know why? Because if you stop, you begin to see clearly. You start noticing that the path is full of false marks, empty promises, arrows pointing nowhere. Let me be clear. The lack of internal direction is the great poison of this era. They disconnected you from your instinct, taught you to trust more in an algorithm than in your own intuition. But intuition, that inner voice you've silenced so many times, is the only GPS that doesn't make mistakes. You've just let it rust in a dark corner of your mind. The cruelest part is that even your most primal fear, the fear of falling behind, has been carefully fed by this machinery. They've convinced you that competition is your only means of survival, that if you don't move at the speed of light, you'll be forgotten, buried under the weight of those who kept running. But I ask you, where are they all running with such desperation? Look closely. They're not running towards happiness. They're running away from the emptiness they feel when they stop. They're running to avoid hearing the echo of their own doubts. They're running because they fear that if they stop, they'll have to face the desolate reality that they don't know where they're going. And here is where I present an idea that few dare to accept. True bravery isn't in running faster, but in having the courage to stop while everyone else keeps running. To stop and reflect, to question, to listen to that uncomfortable silence that reveals the truths you've been avoiding for so long. Because in that silence, magic happens. That's where you begin to distinguish between what the system wants you to desire and what your soul truly needs. That's where you begin to rebuild your internal compass, to decide your path not out of fear, but out of purpose. And here comes something you may have never considered. The success they promised you is designed to be unattainable. It's a carrot that hangs just out of reach, no matter how far you go. Because if you ever reach it, if you ever feel truly fulfilled, the system will lose its control over you. They can't allow that. They keep you trapped in eternal dissatisfaction, in a hamster wheel disguised as progress. Every time you get closer to a goal, they've already drawn the next one. There's always a more. More money, more recognition, more achievements. But never more peace. That, strangely, never appears on the list. Do you see it now? You've been trained to confuse movement with progress. But moving doesn't always mean progressing. Sometimes moving is just a sophisticated way of escaping from yourself. And while you keep running in circles, you neglect the most important wealth you possess, your time. That finite resource you spend as if it were infinite. They tear it from your hands drop by drop, disguised as productivity, as non-existent urgencies, as emergencies invented to keep you obedient. But here's the big revelation. Reclaiming your time is reclaiming your life. It's breaking the invisible chains that bind you to a system that feeds on your exhaustion. It's stopping living on autopilot and starting to drive your own existence. This doesn't mean escaping to the woods or living isolated from the world. It means taking ownership of your choices, stopping being a puppet of trends, and becoming the architect of your days. And here's a final question, one that isn't comfortable, but is necessary. If today you were free, radically free, without the pressure of the system, without the need to please anyone, without the slavery of external judgment, what would you do with your life? Answer with brutal honesty, because that answer is the map you've always been looking for. But let's go even deeper, because there's another trap, one that's hidden better than all the others, one that, if you don't unmask it, will follow you until the last day of your life. The trap of false identity. Yes, the false identity. They've forced you to build a version of yourself that isn't real. They made you believe that you are your resume, that you are the degrees you've hung on the wall, that you are the achievements you accumulate like plastic medals, that you are your social media numbers, that you are the brand of your car, that you are the balance in your bank account. And the most dangerous part? They've made you believe it so much that you no longer know how to differentiate between the mask and your true face. But listen carefully. That's not you. That's the disguise you created to survive in a world that rewards appearance and punishes authenticity. Because the system doesn't know what to do with authentic people. It can't control them. It can't predict them. It can't use them as fuel for its consumption machine. And that's why it pushes you, since childhood, to fit into molds defined by others. Think about it. They taught you as a child to compete, to stand out, to fit into models someone else defined as success. They trained you to be efficient, to be productive, to be useful to the system. But they never taught you to be yourself. They never taught you to listen to yourself, to explore who you are beyond what you do or what you own. And here lies the silent poison. The more you move away from your true identity, the deeper the emptiness you feel inside. Because you can succeed on the system's terms and still fail catastrophically on the terms of your soul. Disconnecting from your true identity is the greatest cause of invisible exhaustion you suffer from every day. That chronic fatigue you don't understand where it comes from. That feeling that no matter how much you rest, you're always exhausted. It's not from lack of sleep. It's from living a life that doesn't belong to you. And if that weren't enough, modernity has perfected the art of keeping you distracted from that discomfort. Because it knows that if you ever stop to deeply question who you are, if you ever dare to remove the mask, you'll discover that you've been playing a role you hate for years. But I have to tell you something brutal. The role you play may get you applause, yes, but it will never give you peace. Applause fades quickly, and when it does, it leaves you alone with your inner echo, with that voice that asks again and again, who am I really? Who am I living for? Do you realize the gravity of this? We live in an era where people die to be seen, but forget the urgency of seeing themselves. And here comes another critical point: the emotional dependency on external recognition. It has been embedded so deeply in our psyche that we no longer seek validation for satisfaction, but for emotional survival. It's almost biological. If we're not approved, we feel like we cease to exist. But this is a psychological kidnapping disguised as progress, because the problem isn't wanting to be seen. That's human. The problem is needing to be seen to feel that you're worth something. That's where the real prison hides. And the most sinister part, the more you depend on validation, the easier it is to manipulate you. Because you become addicted to approval, willing to do anything for one more dose of acceptance. You change your principles, dilute your essence, betray your values, all to fit in. But here's another route I propose: detoxification. Radical abstinence from external approval. The internal silence necessary to reconnect with the only voice that truly matters: yours. Imagine this mental image. Picture an empty stage. There's no audience, no critics, no one applauding or booing. It's just you, alone, in the middle of the stage of your life. What would you do? What would you say? What role would you play if no one were watching? Because that's the essence of your true freedom. Freedom isn't doing what you want in front of others. Freedom is doing what you want when no one is watching. Now, I want to take you to another dark corner. Few explore: the infantilization of the modern adult. And I'm not saying this to provoke you, but to make you understand it with brutal clarity. Look around you. Observe how we're treated as if we were eternal adolescents, entertained with expensive toys, with constant stimuli that prevent us from emotionally maturing. We are fed with instant rewards, kept busy with trivialities that stop us from diving into what really matters. Because an emotionally mature adult doesn't need constant distractions. A mature adult seeks depth, seeks purpose, seeks meaning. And that's what the system cannot allow. It prefers to keep us in a state of childish dependence, where any discomfort is quickly numbed with empty entertainment. Think about this. How many times have you felt a slight hint of existential discomfort, only to rush to fill that emptiness with the nearest distraction? Social media, endless series, impulsive purchases, anything to avoid facing that uncomfortable sting that reminds you something doesn't fit. But that sting is your compass. That discomfort is the message your soul sends you to wake up. Don't silence it. Listen to it. Because that discomfort, if you dare to face it, can become your greatest ally. It can become the spark that ignites your awakening. So here's a radical proposal. Don't run away from discomfort. Invite it. Sit with it. Ask it what it wants to tell you. Because discomfort isn't here to punish you, it's here to free you. And when you begin to do this, when you begin to see discomfort as a sign and not as a threat, you'll start walking towards a terrain very few tread on. The terrain of true inner autonomy. This is where the metamorphosis happens. This is where you stop being a product of modernity and become a conscious creator of your existence. You'll no longer be a leaf carried by the wind of external expectations. You'll be the tree that grows firm and deep, needing no movement to prove its strength, because its very existence is enough. And at this point, you begin to live for real. You start living not to be seen, not to be approved, but to simply be, just to be. But before we finish, I want you to do one final exercise with me. Don't look at the clock. Don't think about the next task or the notifications waiting for you. Stay here with me for one more moment, because now we're going to cross together the threshold from superficial thought to a place where few dare to go. The relationship between time and the perception of life. Listen carefully. There's something slipping through your fingers every day, and you don't even realize it. I'm not just talking about chronological time, I'm talking about lived time, the time you feel. Modernity has stolen your ability to savor the moment. It has forced you to live with your mind always ahead, as if life were a train you can't catch. You're always thinking about what comes next, never about what is. They disconnected you from the present to keep you anxious about the future. They taught you to fear stillness, to distrust silence, to flee from the now as if it were an enemy. Because in stillness lies the uncomfortable truth you're desperately trying to ignore. Life isn't waiting for you somewhere up ahead. Life is happening here, now, while you listen to these words. The great irony is that while you run after a promised future that never comes, the present disintegrates right before you. Every second you spend fleeing from the now is a second you lose forever. It doesn't return, it's not repeated, it's not recoverable. And I'll ask you a brutal question, straight to the jugular. How many more seconds will you give to emptiness? Reflect on this. The time you waste is not just time, it's life. It's your only life. There's no replacement, no backup, no second chance. This is it. This very moment is all you're guaranteed. Here's the final blow. When you finally understand this, when you truly internalize it, everything changes. Priorities reorder, masks begin to fall. The urgency for external validation fades like smoke, and what remains is pure, is authentic, is the only real thing. Your naked existence, your being without embellishments, your life lived in its rawest and most honest form. So instead of asking yourself what's coming next, ask yourself the only question that truly matters. Am I living my life? Or am I just surviving inside a system that never took me into account? If the answer doesn't please you, that's fine. It means you still have time. You still have time to rebel against everyday anesthesia. You still have time to reclaim your lived time, not the time measured by clocks, but the time lived by your soul. This is the moment you can break the inertia. Not tomorrow, not when you have more money, not when the world gives you permission. Now, because if it's not now, it'll never be. Before you go, I want to propose a small challenge. Yes, to you who have made it this far, who haven't given up in the face of the discomfort of these truths. I want you to leave a simple but brutally powerful sentence in the comments. I claim my time. By writing it, you're not only committing to yourself, but you're sending a message to the world. You no longer accept living on autopilot. You've woken up. You've opened your eyes. And if this video stirred something inside you, if you feel that it has somehow put you in front of the mirror you've been avoiding, subscribe to the channel. Not because I say so, but because together we're going to keep dismantling all the lies they've told you about life. And activate the bell, because the next truths are going to be even more uncomfortable than this one. Remember, this channel is not a refuge for the conformists. It's a space for those who dare to think for themselves, for those who aren't afraid to face the rawest truths, because they know that discomfort is the price of freedom. Now, I leave you with this final image to accompany you when you close this video. Imagine life as a giant hourglass, and each grain that falls isn't time, it's your life. How many more grains will you let fall without using them the way you truly want? Don't answer now, but never forget it. We'll see each other in the next video if you decide to follow this path of uncomfortable truths. Or rather, we'll meet, not when the algorithm says so, but when you're ready to truly open your eyes. Until then, live as if you were already free.